We want 1 million Bitcoin for the United States balance sheet. We need to have it 1 million. Bro, Bitcoin's going to probably 500,000 that day.
The President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, will buy 1 million Bitcoin for the strategic Bitcoin reserve. This is what we are going to talk about today with my guest, Lou Valentino. He usually talks about politics on his channels with millions and millions of views, but he's also a Bitcoiner with a very strong conviction, and he went all into Bitcoin. It was amazing to dive deeper with Lou Valentino into the areas of Bitcoin, Trump, politics, and what the future of sound money holds. Enjoy.
I see Bitcoin hit 126, peaked October 10th, a lot of liquidations. There was like, it hit like the 80s. And I'm like, very, because I wasn't buying Bitcoin. I was just like, I know that if I get a chance to buy it again at a certain price, I'm probably gonna start doing this. And then, Bitcoin hit 88, 86, 87. And at that time, I was watching your interviews with Chris Johnson. And I was like, man, this guy, Chris Johnson, he's really good. And it goes to show, like, I'm an outsider, mostly because I'm not in the game, but I was watching a lot of it. And I was like, you know what? I think it's time. I think it's time I convert my entire net worth into Bitcoin. And slowly but surely, throughout this bear market that I believe maybe the 4-year cycle is still in, and I was like, I'm just gonna buy. I don't care about the price. I'm just gonna buy. I'm gonna go all in. I'm not gonna buy anything else. I withdraw all my money out of like the SPY, and you know, I was like, I'm not gonna play any more fiat games. I'm not gonna gamble. We're just gonna go. I'm just gonna go all in. And right now, I can say that my whole entire net worth is just Bitcoin, like literally all of it, and all the way in Bitcoin. And maybe if the 4-year cycle is still intact, a lot of people believe it's not. I still happen to be. I had a conversation with Ben Cowan, who is not that popular right now on X, because he says that the 4-year cycle seems to still be in. If it is in, and I believe is eventually going to go to over 1 million plus, I don't care, right? Like I would love to buy at those prices, and I'm stacking, and not only stacking every day, but I'm stacking for the long term. So if we do hit, and if the bear market cycle still intact, maybe October is a bottom. Maybe before October, maybe we see 45, maybe we don't. But I don't want to guess. What if we don't see 45? This. I remember in 2022, right? Right after FTX, Bitcoin was like 21,000, and people were like, maybe that's the bottom. And then it hit like 19,000, 17,000. I think it peaked like low. I think the low was like 17.5 or 16.5. And a lot of people said it was going to 10. And if it's at 76 today, and a lot of people are like, it's going to 40, I don't want to play those guessing games. I'd rather just buy now, keep DCAing all the way through, and just, again, my whole entire net worth is just Bitcoin.
And I think you catched one of the best prices ever. And this sounds weird to say because we had seen like 6 years ago, like Bitcoin at 3K, 5K. But there are a lot more open questions back then. Strategy was not there. Like there was no public support, like from the president, from the politics sector. There's a lot of public figures that now came into Bitcoin in the last 6 years. So I feel like right now is a time where all the questions are answered. I feel like now we know where Bitcoin is going. I think now we know what Bitcoin's future looks like, and there's no open big question. What if this happens? What if that happens? Like will Bitcoin be banned? Will Bitcoin be regulated to death? Like I think those answers have been given, and so now you get a 50% discount up to like the 7 months ago from October, and you're getting all questions answered. Where if you bought 2012, obviously you got a better price, but there's a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of question marks. Then like, will that happen? And so now you can actually go all in with a good feeling, and not like, will it be gone tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I will say, like, even if I knew about Bitcoin in 2012, right? You don't have the capital, you don't have the capital inflow of that's always been my thing, and that's why I always tell everybody now that I preach to my friends and everybody that hears me ever talk about Bitcoin is like, it's one thing to know about it, it's one thing to catch it early, but did you have the capital? Did you have the capital flow each and every month? Like right now, people get to certain points in their lives. Every what Michael Saylor says, he says everyone will get Bitcoin at the price they deserve, right? I just so happen to deserve this price because, over time I knew about it. I could have bought it way earlier. I'm talking about way. I knew friends that were buying the dip all the way down to 22,000, 23, 24. I remember those days. I remember where Bitcoin will go from like 39 to like 28 back down. I'm like, man, this is a chance to start doing it. This is it. This is it. And I wouldn't do it. I mean, like 29,000, 20,000, 19. I mean, that's just like, I'm thinking back, like I remember seeing that. And so the way I think about it, like you said, is like, I know it's going to a million plus. I know that the market is trying to capture is so far bigger. We're talking about a 900 trillion to a quadrillion dollar market. We're talking about capturing the whole thing. Once everybody plays catch up and figures out what this actually is and what's actually going on, and the problems that we have with our money, because that's really what it comes down to. That was the convincing stuff, is like watching what you guys talk about on a daily basis. Why is Bitcoin important to these guys? Why is Bitcoin important? Because I'm not trying to play fiat games. What is it about fiat that's so bad, right? Like what's the system that's broken, right? Because like I grew up in the Bronx, New York. I grew up in the system, like literally, like we came, like me and my mom and my brother and my sister, we came from Puerto Rico, obviously a part of the United States, but not in the States. So it's a small island, U.S. colony. We, very, very poor in certain areas. And so we moved to the United States for more opportunity, still in the United States, but we moved into the States. And when we moved there, we were straight into the system, right? Like straight into social programs, straight into shelters, no opportunities. The hood per se, the Bronx. My father was federally indicted early in my life when I was like 6 months. Never got to meet him. My brother, the way that we were beginning to grow up, he started joining gangs. And as me, like my story is more like I was trying to figure out a way out of that system, right? So that system is like, you want to talk about entrapment. That system is literally where a whole bunch of people are dependent on the government. It's basically socialism. A lot of people would say that socialism doesn't exist in the United States. It does in some parts, right? You have a system where people are fully dependent on the government, social programs, and there's this race where, most people don't want to be educated enough, because if you're educated enough and you get a job and you start becoming somewhat successful, then that help goes away. You got to pay. You got to pay for your health care. You got to pay for your mostly your education, especially outside of high school, and you got to pay for mostly all these things that you really wouldn't pay for if you got the help of the government. So that race I was already in since I was young. Then when you start getting older, you start working, getting money, there's another system you got to escape, which is the fiat system, fiat games, right? You got to escape the food. You got to escape the matrix per se. So it's just like, that's all it is at the end of the day. It's just, you have to escape the system that is, after 1971, once we went off the gold standard and the United States of America noticed and they realized, hey, we can kind of dominate the world. We would sanction them. We can make them use the dollar. We're going to make them use the system. And if they don't want to use the system, if our citizens don't want to use the system, we have the IRS. They show up at your door. Hey, you're not using the dollar. You're not paying us. You're going to jail. You're going to a box. You're going to prison. So, you know, it's all a system. Everything is always going to be a system. Socialism is a system. Communism is a system. Like everything that you're seeing today, all these riots, all Trump, it's just all a system. And I think that Bitcoin has taught me, literally taught me throughout wanting to get more into it and, put my money into it. I didn't just want to put my money in there or my hard work or my labor. I was like, what is it? Why is this important to me? And now I want to share that message to the world. Like, if I'm all in, I want to be able to tell people that. I don't want to hide from the world that I'm in Bitcoin. I want to tell everybody, hey, I'm in Bitcoin and this is why. And I think we're running out of time as well. I don't want to be a doomer, but I think, a lot of people are going to figure it out eventually. And by the time they do, they'll get the price they deserve.
This came just out, I think, like an hour ago or something like that. It happened at the Bitcoin Las Vegas, and I think he also was at the Bitcoin Las Vegas conference and talked about it publicly. I don't even know his name, but apparently he's the White House executive director, and he brought it back in that like there is an announcement coming. They have to make sure the strategic Bitcoin reserve is not something they forgot about. It's just that they want to make sure they do it the right way, kind of a thing. How do you look from a politics perspective on a strategic Bitcoin reserve? How do you look at Bitcoin kind of being connected to the US government?
So it's already connected to the US government because of all the seizing of it, right? Like, so all the big indictments that they've had on some of the crypto scams as a whole, or maybe even, Silk Road, right? So a lot of the Silk Road Bitcoin, or people that hacked Bitcoin, the federal government seizes it. So I think the federal government has like about 300 something thousand, maybe more. Maybe they have more, maybe not. So, but I think that I saw these. This guy, he was at the Bitcoin conference, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe not. Maybe I'm mistaken. But I saw him on Scott Milker. Is that Scott Milker's podcast?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Scott
Okay. Yeah.
Marcus podcast, and I think this was recorded actually at the
Consensus, probably. Yeah.
at the consensus. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what he's trying to do, but again, like I told everybody before, I was like, I think Trump needs to realize, and I would hope that he realized, that Bitcoin is the answer. We could get this Bitcoin reserve, strategic reserve, and we could get the US government to be the leader, like along with strategy, along with, because I think China has Bitcoin as well. I think Trump wants to be the best at everything, right? That's just who he is. That's his personality. I want to be the best. I want Bitcoin, right? It's like all these things. So it's like, bro, you have an opportunity to be the leader of Bitcoin. So I don't get excited over things like that because again, people say things all the time. This guy could be a White House executive. He probably just got hired. He probably works there. He probably is a part of the administration for 6 months. Like these guys come in and out. I don't know what to trust. Like that sounds good. Like Eric Trump saying that Bitcoin's going to 1 million or all of this. It sounds good, but you know how it goes. Like we don't know what's gonna happen. But is that exciting? I think the best thing that could ever happen to Bitcoin is that the United States government announces that we are going to buy 1 million Bitcoin. We want 1 million Bitcoin on the United States for the United States balance sheet. We need it. We need to have it 1 million, bro. Bitcoin's going to probably 500,000 that day. Like I told my girl that I was like, what's the best thing that could happen, right, for the midterms? Like, 'cause, the midterms in the United States of America, every politician is trying to get reelected. Trump is trying to dominate, right, because he's the incumbent president. So the incumbent president usually loses, the midterms as far as his party, right? His party being the Republicans. There's the Senate, there's Congress. So in Congress you have a whole bunch of races, and in the Senate you have a bunch of races. The Democrats seem to maybe they're going to take, maybe they're going to take, the House, but they're not going to take the Senate. So Trump is looking at it. I could see him doing this. He's like, Bitcoin's down, gas prices are up, let me flip everything. Let me clear every narrative. Let me announce a Bitcoin strategic reserve, because I think they bought some, but they didn't buy that much from the strategic reserve. So let me announce a 300,000 Bitcoin buy, or 500,000 Bitcoin buy. And bro, what happens if the United States and the Bitcoin strategic reserve, if they announce that Bitcoin, they're going to buy 300,000, they're going to buy 200,000, they're going to buy 100,000, they're going to buy 1 million Bitcoin. You don't think that day that's announced, you don't think that, and I don't know how it's going to happen. Maybe they'll buy it before then, because we'll know if somebody put $60 billion into the market, we'll know it because the market will move. But if they're announcing that they're gonna do that, bro, that would be one of the craziest days in history. Like if they announce that they're gonna buy that much, that is my dream for Trump. Like I think that would be such a win for Bitcoin as a whole if he announces we're gonna buy 1 million Bitcoin. Bro, everybody is flooding to buy Bitcoin like no tomorrow. That the price that day will make it. We're going straight to 5 trillion, 6 trillion, $7 trillion market cap. If the United States of America announces that they're gonna buy Bitcoin, they're gonna buy Bitcoin every year. They're gonna buy Bitcoin until the supply runs out. I don't know what the announcement is, but that would be the greatest day in the history of the United States and in the history of Bitcoin, in my opinion. Yeah, you just playing that video or telling me about that, I just got excited. Because I know what that could be like, bro. That would be the craziest day in history.
We have to jump on a live stream as soon as it happens, man. That would be ridiculous.
Oh my God, bro. The United States of America is buying 1 million Bitcoin. And they don't have to say like, okay, we're gonna buy 1 million Bitcoin for the next 2 years. Bro, we like what? Like the price, bro, the price for those that's the super cycle. That's the super cycle. Because we know now that the United States of America is going to buy a lot of Bitcoin. And everybody's gonna be like, oh my God, bro, we got to get as much as we could, bro, before this thing runs out. And then that's the supply shock that everybody's talking about. But things like that, I don't know when it's gonna happen. But can it happen? Can Trump make it happen? If there's ever going to be it's not going to be Joe Biden. It's not going to be Kamala Harris. They don't like it. They hate it, right? Like, so like, I don't see a Democrat president doing that. So if there is a chance that it happens, it would have to be under Trump. So who knows, man? The guy wants to win. He wants to go out as the best. He wants the Nobel Peace Prize. He wants all these things. Buy 1 million Bitcoin, Trump, and you'll change the world forever. That's my pitch.
And I think like he's also a guy that wants to build a legacy, and he wants to be referred as the president that did X, Y, Z. And being the president that brought Bitcoin into the administration and bought 1 million Bitcoin and brought the plan underway to buy 1 million Bitcoin. That could be a legacy that lasts forever for him. Like he could literally be at the forefront of that and be still in the history books in like 50 or 100 years.
I mean, think about the things that he's done, right? When it comes to the stock market going up 30% in like a week, 2 weeks, right? Like the stock market has gone maybe that's why, we're seeing retracement in the market now because, bro, we had that dip in the S&P 500. I think it dipped down to like, I think it went to 6,400 and now it's like a 75, 7,600, right? It was like a 30 plus percent. And like, bro, if he's able to do that with the stock market, we're talking about trillions and hundreds of billions of dollars in there, hundreds of billions of dollars moving in a day. If some way how he manages to like bring some of that, part of that, portion of that, or talk about Bitcoin, that will be the supply shock that everybody's talking about. I see videos all the time like supply shock, bro. Because then, strategy, whatever reserves they're sitting on, Michael Saylor's jumping on that. Like, everybody's jumping on that. Like, I keep thinking about it. Like, I keep thinking about what that day could look like. Everybody, whatever money they have, they're buying because they know they'll never. And that's why, and maybe you said this before, buying under 100,000 is a gift. It just is because we know where it's going and we don't know how fast we're going to get there. And maybe I think people think we're going to get there. It's going to take longer than like I think we'll be there. I think we'll be at 500,000 by the time I'm 31, 32, 33 maybe. So I'm 29 now. I turned 30. By the time I'm like 31, 32, bro, I think we'll be like 300, 400, 500,000. And I think that once we get over 200, 180, I think we're just not coming back to the hundreds. Yeah, people are going to profit take. Yeah. But again, it's going to take a big shock, a big supply shock. And that supply shock can only come from one country, and it'll have to be the United States. And there's already a strategic reserve that exists. And in order to convince all traditional finance or everybody, that's in gold, or everybody that the gold bugs, or everybody, there's a lot of money in there. There's a lot of money in gold. There's a lot of money in paper gold. There's a lot of money everywhere. But I think that, yeah, yeah, I think that would be the most historic day. And I think it could happen. I really think it could happen. And I think that guy coming out of nowhere saying that, I got to figure out who he is. I seen him around a few times. He's definitely working for the administration, working under the administration. Yeah, maybe. Maybe. But I
That's
know
it's crazy to
that
hear.
it would be the craziest day in the history of Bitcoin.
It will be. This will be.
Nobody
And
expects it.
and we recently had a guest on who has said that he looks forward to having it on July 4th, Independence Day.
This is I keep okay, that's another thing. I keep hearing about July 4th. Again, like because I report on a lot of things. I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I don't depend on these things. That's why I just keep buying, because the worst thing that could happen to you, right? That could happen to any human. I want everybody to hear me when I say this. The worst thing that could happen is that you think the 4-year cycle is intact, and maybe it is. And it looks like it is. It just looks like it. It looks like it's not missing. The worst thing that you could do is, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, it's not financial advice. You can just dollar cost average, because let's just say that on July 4th, Independence Day, we got fireworks, something big again, like these supply shocks happen. You saw what happened to oil. Like oil was not bothering nobody at $60. Then it went to 121. That is a crazy jump, a crazy surge. So supply shocks happen often. Like the demand for things does go up. And the demand for Bitcoin, depending on what the federal government decides to do, federal government in charge of the most money in the world, that controls the most money in the world, that controls every individual in the world, that can make any individual do anything, that has the greatest military in the world, if they submit and buy Bitcoin, they've already submitted, they already got a strategic reserve, they've already kind of bowed down, but they haven't submitted to the point where they feel that they have to have a lot of Bitcoin, that they have to have all this Bitcoin, that the Federal Reserve needs to have Bitcoin, that everybody needs to. The moment that starts to happen, you're gonna think to yourself, "Man, I was waiting for a certain price, and all of a sudden we're at almost 200,000. What happened, man? Like, oh man, like they're gonna be hurt. People are gonna be depressed because they weren't buying. You don't think 76,000 is a good price? You don't think 70,000? You don't think 65? You don't think those were good prices? What are you waiting for? Like, you're waiting for it to go down to 45, a specific number? Sure, if everybody thinks it's gonna go there, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. Again, depends on the 4-year cycle. But the only person that can break the 4-year cycle is not going to be Michael Saylor. It's not going to be Stretch. It's going to be the United States government. It's going to be this Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. It's going to be literally, that's the only one that can break the cycle, in my opinion. Cause the biggest supply shock in the world. Maybe it happens on July 4th. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But Robin, I'm buying Bitcoin, man. That's all I'm doing. I'm buying some today. It dipped down a little bit. I'm just gonna keep buying. Every paycheck, just keep buying.
That's the best you can do. And I think that's what people should do, because you can't guess what's going to happen. We can look back at this
Speculate.
conversation in the half a year, and we could be at 30, 40K, but we could also be at like 200K. Like, nobody knows.
Bro, I think look, and maybe let's save this um spot. And I think predictions are always fun. I love when people make predictions. I love predictions, bro. It's my favorite thing about Bitcoin, because it gets me excited. We can make a prediction. I don't know if you like predictions. Maybe you don't.
I love. They
You
are
love
very
predictions, right?
entertaining.
Predictions are the best.
I just don't like acting on them, because like I now with Poly Market, it's so tempting because you can bet on literally anything. but I've never placed a bet in my life. I've never like gambled on anything. Like I'm pretty big against that, but it's so fun to do it without money. I'm there's a Eurovision Song Contest happening in Europe. I don't know if you even know about it, but I've I've watched it with my fiance, and we made a ranking system. What we think from the 25 candidates, what the ranking will be, and I guessed the winner. I literally
Ah,
guessed the winner
wow.
before the results were in, and I absolutely loved it. I could have made 167x, almost a 200x on Polymarket if I placed a trade when I said like Bulgaria will win.
Oh
So
my God.
it's super tempting, but I know it was just luck. And next time I'm actually placing a bet, I'm probably losing everything. And so I'm not doing it, but I love participating in it because just it's super entertaining. No matter if you already have self custody or still have your Bitcoin on exchange, your generational wealth that you have in Bitcoin could be completely at risk. And that's why I highly recommend to you to give the Bitcoin Way a 30-minute free consultation call to check how secure your custody setup really is and what you can still improve. So head over to thebitcoinway.com/Robin. Again, that's the bitcoinway.com/Robin and get your free initial 30-minute call with the Bitcoin Way. Finally, we have BTC Prague back in 2026, and this year I'm not only speaking on a panel, but I'm actually going to present an interesting new angle, a perspective, a Bitcoin thesis at BTC Prague this year for the first time ever. I've never done that on any other conference, so this will be a fun one. If you listen to this show on a regular basis, I would love to meet you in Prague this year. It's very high signal, no noise, and Prague is just a freaking amazing city with awesome drinks and a lot of good food. Use code ROBIN to get 10% off, and if you buy with Bitcoin, you get an additional 5% off your ticket price. I'll see you there in Prague. Make sure to come say hi.
No, it's the best. Again, I love that you say you're not, you don't really advocate for gambling. I don't advocate for gambling. I think poly market, whatever you think about it, but it is crazy the things that you could bet on, man. Like the things that you could bet on Jesus coming back, bro. Like you could bet on everything, bro. Like you could bet on everything, bro. Like what word is Trump gonna say today? What word is somebody? I'm like, well, what is happening? You could bet on literally. You could bet on the price of Bitcoin at 3 p.m. Like, I'm like, bro. So yeah, I would say, let me see. I would say a year from now, if the 4 year cycle is intact, you know, I think we'll be at the bull market again. Yeah, I think Bitcoin by next year, man. I'm about to give my first ever prediction live on air. I think that by 2028, the 2028, which award 2026 to midterms one, still doing the math. I think we'll be at 200 and between 216,000 and 275,000 in 2028. And that will put us, we will go from a $1.5 trillion market cap recording this. We will be at almost, if I'm not mistaken, a $4 trillion market cap, 3.8, 4.5, somewhere around there. And I don't think it's going to take a lot to get us there. And I think maybe we'll be higher. But by 2028, around this time, 2028, so May 18th, 2028, I believe we'll be at 216 to 275, maybe higher. And if I'm wrong, I owe you $100, bro. I'm gonna call you like Robin. Hey man, give me your Cash App Venmo. I gotta wire you $100, bro. I was wrong, bro.
I feel like you will be right though.
Yeah,
I feel like it's gonna happen. If it's not a weird bear market that just happens at that very time, but if it's a normal thing, like it could easily happen. I
yeah,
want to show you.
I think we'll be there, bro. I don't think it's gonna. It's not gonna take that much. People are just. You gotta understand, like, and I don't know how much time we got left, but when you look at somebody like uh some of the, just look at some of the richest men in the world, right? If you look at how much these companies, right, like Berkshire Hathaway, or let's just go with Berkshire Hathaway, right? How much money are they sitting on? They're sitting on like $384 billion. They're just sitting on it, right? I don't know, maybe, he's getting older, they're transitioning or whatever it is, but the sidelines right now, they're packed, right? And you know how bull markets get, like, especially, and I think this next bull market for Bitcoin is going to be even more insane because once people realize that we're on a bull market trend, right? And this goes back to technical analysis of like short-term price cheering or short-term price, predicting. When you, let's just say, like, we go over the 200-day moving average and then we go to like 90, 85, and we close candles above that, think we'll be in a bull trend again, and we could go hit 100. Do you know how much money is going to fly in? Like this, there's so much money on the sidelines. Like I was searching it up the other day. I was like, how much are companies sitting on? How much is Berkshire Hathaway sitting on? Like Warren Buffett is one of the greatest investors. He hates Bitcoin, by the way. But like, these people are sitting on a lot of cash. They've been sidelined to miss the 30% rally or miss rallies as a whole. I don't think people are going to miss this next rally for Bitcoin. I don't think so. I really don't think so. I think this next rally for Bitcoin, I don't think, yeah, I think that the super cycle theory, I hate that term because people were like so wrong on that. It was like, oh, it's going to the super cycle, and then it didn't, and people, whatever. But yeah, I think 100%. I think in the next 2 years, I think Trump he's not a loser, bro. He doesn't like to look, Democrats would say otherwise. He's a loser. They call me a loser, but I think he doesn't want to, he's not going to want to be, you think if, hey, Mr. President, under your watch, Bitcoin is down. Bitcoin's not up. Bitcoin hasn't gone up under your watch. Everything else is up, we have the Dow at 50,000. We got but Bitcoin, man, like these guys, they're mad. What can we do what can we do to win it? You don't think that that's the pitch? Like, it's not, it, Trump is an egotistical, narcissistic maniac. I'm a narcissistic man. Well, I think we're all kind of narcissistic, but he might be the biggest one, right? If you read his books, he likes to win and he likes to take credit for winning. I just don't see a world where he doesn't want to win with Bitcoin and want Bitcoin to win. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe I'm super wrong on that. A lot of people would say, "Hey Lou, you're stupid. You're wrong on that." This guy, he is a loser. He's doing other stuff. He's doing the meme coin. He's rug pulling. He's doing all these bad things. And to me, that's the pitch. It's like, yo, under your watch, sir, Bitcoin didn't go up. It went down, and it's been sad. I think that at some point he's gonna want to make a decision about that. He's gonna want to see Bitcoin at 100,000 again. And I'm not saying that he could control the price by himself, obviously, but he is the president of the United States of America. We'll see if he pulls the trigger or not. Warren Buffett, imagine what that day would be like if Warren Buffett announces that he's buying some Bitcoin. Like that would be the craziest day in finance. Like, God forbid before he dies. I think he's 96. I know he's older. I know his best friend who you know, I know he died. Charlie Munger died not too long ago. Um, but imagine the world where Warren Buffett like invested. Like imagine what those are events that could happen any day, by the way. Like imagine that world where Warren Buffett says, you know, why not? Darn it, like, 2 billion buy. And it's announced that, Berkshire Hathaway put $2 billion on big bro. You don't think like that would be, you know what I mean? Like I'm thinking of events that can cause these supply shocks. And I play these events in my head all the time. Like, man, what could be the rarest thing that could happen, or what could be something that could happen that will cause this or cause this to go to a certain price? So, yeah, I think that the conversations are very different. Conversations about money, people that need Bitcoin, hoarding, Michael Saylor, price. I think it's all fun. Again, always the result is going to be we just buy more. But man, I love thinking about that stuff, bro, because it just that's the process. The best part about life is the process of life, the process of growing, the process of seeing things grow. And, it's a process, but man, it will be a very fun day, bro. If we ever get that announcement before Warren Buffett, like he transitions, he's older. Before that happens, imagine that. Ha! Man. Well, he bought Google. He announced that he was buying Google, like Berkshire Hathaway. Bro, the market, the way they responded to his buy, like Berkshire Hathaway bought some Google and Google was up like 12, 14% that day. I was like, oh my God, bro. Imagine Bitcoin.
There must be a poly market bet you can place on Berkshire Hathaway buying Bitcoin.
Bro,
There must
imagine
be
that.
one.
Oh my God, bro. I think if you have that connect, man, you should write them like, hey, I think you should put this on a betting. I will bet that. I will probably bet like $5 on that, man, because $5 could probably get you $1,000. That's how low of a chance that has.
You can
Yeah.
blast that out. Yeah. There was one, I just saw that randomly while I was scrolling there. I'll just show it to you because maybe you get a kick out of that. I got one. There's a poly market thing going on where it says, will Trump publicly insult someone on May 18th, 19th, 20th? And the chances are pretty
There's a
good on every day.
99% chance, bro. Oh my God. Oh my God. Bro, a 99% chance. That is insane. What if you bet no? You could make a lot of money, right?
A lot of my I'm not 100% sure how a poly market actually works, but I think you buy no here for 1.3 cent per share, and in the event
Put
the
ten
no
dollars.
actually
Write ten
cents,
dollars real quick.
like, oh, $10.
Yeah, just write 10 to win another 10. So you get back the same amount. Oh, that's to say yes. Oh, go no, go no. Yeah, go no, and then put yeah. So you put $10, you get $497 if Trump doesn't insult somebody. Hey man, that's a good bet, bro. Oh, that is insane, bro. But like, how many insiders are watching that and telling the president, "Hey, don't insult anybody today, bro. I want to win $5,000." Oh, that is crazy, bro. This is crazy. Wow. You could bet on anything, bro. Wow.
Poly market is a
Poly
real
market, poly market needs to be banned, bro. It needs to be banned. Well, what is that? That is crazy.
it's actually it's quite crazy. I have to say, and it's changing a lot. Like it's just like, and it's like a share. Like you can buy and sell the share. Like you don't even have, like, the no doesn't even have to be coming in. It just has to be more likely, then you can sell again this thing and like make a profit that way. So it's a whole different market. I personally, I'm staying as far as way as possible from that, because I think gambling can make bad things with people, and I don't want to fall into that. But yeah, it's definitely fun to watch. I look at poly market, like, I don't know, once a month at least, to see what's kind of popular currently, what kind of trades are people going on, and yeah, yeah, I think it's entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, I watch it, to help me try to navigate, a very complex or difficult system of politics because sometimes they do tell you who's going to win before. Like they actually give you a lot of real numbers because there's liquidity being built around a candidate. So that means that there could be people that know something that you don't. So it does help in the long run, I think. Help navigate the system of what will happen next in politics because when liquidity is being built and people are throwing money on something to happen, sometimes that's more of a truth teller than listening to CNN or listening to a news network that is very biased on maybe a certain topic. So yeah, those are some of the good aspects of it. I still use it because I look at, is a politician going to be arrested? Is Trump going to be impeached? Are the Democrats, are they projected to win? And it does help a lot. You would be surprised how much it helps. Now, it doesn't help when, people are just betting on things like that. Like they're just betting on anything, and people are being degenerate gamblers. Because that was I consider myself somewhat degenerate back in the day, and I'm happy that I'm not that no more because I know the problems that it brings to people's lives, especially young people. When they're gambling all of their life savings, they're not saving anymore. They're just trying to hit, a quick goal. That's a very dangerous thing, and I'm sure you know that, and a lot of people know that. But I think those are some of the problems, man. It's just like degeneracy for young people, and it's like a cool thing. Well, let's just bet on these cool thing today, and then they're wasting $100, $200, $300, and next thing you know, they've already spent thousands of dollars that they have saved up. So I know that happened to me before. I don't wish that on anybody. When you are in that system of like gambling and being a degenerate, it is not an easy system to let go of because you think there's not a problem. You think you're having fun until you look at your bank account, you look at your responsibilities. You're like, damn, bro, like everything's gone. Like my girl is gone. All these things are gone. So yeah, yeah. Maybe that's where the money went for altcoins. Every altcoin is down like 55%. All the shit coins, too bad for them. They want to be holding shit. And all that money went from there. Maybe it went to Kaushi, it went to Poly Market. So that sucks.
Betting is a bitch. I would say
It's
like
a it's
that.
a it's a it's a it's a it's a lose. It's a the house is always gonna win. And unfortunately, a lot of people think that they can beat the house. You're never gonna beat the house, bro. If you go to a casino,
Otherwise, there wouldn't be that many houses.
yeah,
Like that.
exactly. Like literally, like and if you win too much, you're gonna get banned, right? Like that's what happens all the time. If you win in the casino, they're gonna kick you out. If you win on a sports book, they're gonna kick you out. It's it's a game they're never gonna lose, and they're gonna make sure they don't lose because they have the right to kick you out if you win too much. So there's no such thing as winners in that game. I don't care what nobody says. Nobody could
Very
convince
true.
me.
I personally also think that there will be a a window closing event for you being able to buy Bitcoin for where it's relatively, I think cheap is such a bad word for that, but it's very lucrative to do so. And this window is like somewhere under a million. I don't know exactly where it is, but I think if we blast through that, it will be less lucrative for you to be in Bitcoin. It will be like you are often the late majority. You're in the majority of the people that adopted, and then it's like, do you really benefit as good as the early adopters? Yeah, you still benefit instead of using fiat, but you're not as benefiting as good. So there's like a 5 to 10 year window. I don't know if you agree with, like, if it's that long.
So I think the window is closing as far as Bitcoin as a Bitcoin is going to do. Bitcoin is going to exist no matter what, right? I think Bitcoin is his own. Like it doesn't operate under Michael Saylor's time. It doesn't operate under my time, your time. It's just going to operate. And I think the window is closing as far as you're seeing a lot of you're seeing traditional finance jump on it in a way where this was a conversation that we had in the Bitcoin conference, and I'll twist it because you have the Michael Saylors of the world buying Bitcoin. They're creating products, unbelievable products, by the way, paying a crazy amount of yield, capturing that traditional finance world. And I think the people that need Bitcoin are the ones that I'm talking to when I say that, because traditional finance is always gonna they're gonna, like, Wall Street is always gonna go number, if number go up, I go up. You know what I mean? Like number go up, technology, I'll buy it. We'll figure out a way to make some money around it. They're playing fiat games, but I think the people that need it, like those countries, when you hear the stories like South Africa or different parts of Africa, or Venezuela, or you know Iran, so much as I'm not cheering for those guys at all. But like you hear these stories of people that are needing or can use Bitcoin, or what Bitcoin is supposed to be. You hear Jeff Booth, you hear Michael Saylor, and one is hoarding Bitcoin, making yield on top of it, hoarding it. And the other one is talking about if it's not used as money, then it can't work. Well, which one of these guys is right? One of these guys is hoarding all the Bitcoin. He's not using it as money. He's using it to play fiat games to a degree. Safer Dinamos is also on the train. Well, it has to be used as money for it to work. If it's not used as money, if it's used as gold, it's not going to work. Whatever that conversation is, it doesn't matter. Bitcoin is always going to exist. The window is closing more for the people that are working 9 to 5, that are in that race every day, who they don't know about Bitcoin, or they do know about Bitcoin, but they don't have a plan, or their hard work and dedication is being wasted upon them not knowing, in my opinion, because they're not chasing some type of investment. They're not chasing. There's a lot of people like that. I know a lot of people like that. And so by the time, and this is going to hurt me, because by the time they figure it out, Bitcoin might be at 250, right? One Bitcoin is kind of attainable if you save up, or if you buy, if you DCA, you could attain it. Now, I don't know about in this economy, but 76, 80, 81, it's kind of getting away. It's like your hard work and dedication should not be able to be printed by the government. So who I'm talking to are the people that they don't know, like the things that they could afford 100, the things that you could afford with $5,000, $10,000 in 2020, you can't afford those same things, or those same things are now overly expensive. Those are the people that just use their bank account to save money, and then they don't know that 10 years go by and most of that money has evaporated because of inflation. So those are the people that I'm trying to get to. Those are the people that I want to talk to, because those are the most important people that are going to need Bitcoin more than ever. And then, of course, countries that can adapt it, that can use it for a currency because their currencies keep failing or they need it. So I think the window for those people is greater than the window for Safe Diamos or Michael Saylor, because again, they're at a different place, right? They're already wealthy individuals. They're very successful. I'm talking about the people in the race, the people every day, the hardworking American that's trying to figure it out, the hardworking person somewhere around the world that is like, yo, my government keeps printing money, and what do I do? Well, here's what you do: you invest in Bitcoin for the next however long you can. You hold, you figure out ways to maybe borrow against it. You don't sell it until it becomes important, until it becomes the money that it purely is. I want it to become money. I don't want it to become gold. I don't think that that's what Bitcoin was made for. That's an interesting conversation to have. But those people in the race, are the most important people. I think those are the people that need the most education. And I would argue that those people are way more important than, whoever maybe Michael Saylor is trying to capture, because he's smart. He's trying to capture the big money. But I think the real people to capture are the people in the 9 to 5 game, 8 to 10, or however how many hours those people work. Because I was one of those people before, and I know that it's not hard to capture people like that.
With Microseed, you can engrave your 12 or 24 word seed phrase, the entire seed phrase, onto a 1-inch small washer. Yes, just one washer. All 24 words on that one washer. You can hide that thing everywhere. And even better, you don't need to buy a new kit every time you have to get a new wallet. You can make unlimited backups, because Microseed is not selling the washer. Microseed is selling the device that stamps the washer. So you get the full kit with the device, with the washers, with the hammer, with everything you need to get started today. And you can make with that unlimited amount of backups. Go now to microseed.io. I finally and officially mine Bitcoin. This is not just something to stack more Satoshis, but it's most importantly also to support the network. Individual miners are the ones that keep the Bitcoin network decentralized. And by the way, you get KYC free Bitcoin. That's why I use Simple Mining. I get an actual proper Bitcoin miner. They set it up for me. They repair it if it breaks down. And most importantly, they let me choose the pool and even connect my own full node. I'm completely sovereign and I'm completely in control, and I can sign up with Ocean, no account needed. I just give them a Bitcoin address and then there's mining going on. No KYC, nothing. So if you're ready to mine Bitcoin, go to simplemining.io, tell them you come from Robin, and let's mine Bitcoin together. I love that you brought up the gap between Saylor and Amos on Saylor and Booth, because it's a really interesting one. And I think the solution is quite easy. I think it's the time frame. I think Jeff Booth thinks about Bitcoin being money, not right now. Obviously, like that's very hard to achieve. And Saylor is kind of saying the reality right now. He also calls it money sometimes. He also sometimes calls it property. Sometimes he calls it digital capital. Like he changes what he calls Bitcoin, like quite often actually. When you listen to a lot of his content, right now he's on the digital capital train, but still he mentioned it being money quite often still since stretches out. But I think right now it's digital property, it's digital capital, it's the gold, the new gold, the new real estate, the new hot thing. But long term, it will be money. It's just it will just take an awful long time to get there, because it needs to be fully established as a store of value first. And we are at the beginning phases of the store of value phase. Store of value phase can go very quick. If we run up to 100K, million, 5 million, and then it's closing again. But once we are there, it will automatically be used as money. I already use it as money, as a unit of a transaction, not a unit of account, not really, because I still think in fiat you kind of have to if everything is priced in fiat. But it's a natural progression, I think, that we get there. So like I think Sale and Booth are kind of just talking in different time frames, I guess.
Yeah, no, I agree. I love both of them, by the way. Like I think they're both good. Like everyone for Bitcoin is good for Bitcoin. I think, I know some people. I think some of people's biggest worries, right, is like, yo, because typically, like, I like to, what's funny about me is like I like to listen to actual Bitcoin interviews where we're talking about the future, but I also like the TA. I like technical analysis about price action. I don't trade Bitcoin. I don't want to trade Bitcoin. I would never trade Bitcoin ever again, but I just buy and hold. But I think it's fun, right? I think that like that's funny to me. Like, oh, people are doing TA. They're like, oh, short price action. They're talking about counter trend rallies and like, where it could go. So like I love all of the aspects of it, right? And the biggest aspect would be, right, Michael Saylor. Like that's the biggest aspect. You want to talk about somebody that converts, like has converted so many people over, orange pilled people. Michael Saylor is the guy. Like, John the Baptist in the Bible, and I'm not trying to compare the Bible to Bitcoin, but sometimes we say Bitcoin gospel, right? Because people are talking about Bitcoin. And like he would be John the Baptist, like he baptizing everybody to come to Bitcoin. So I think it's great. I think what he's doing is good, but you have that deep in your mind that, in every bear market, something breaks, people cry, people give up. That's what bear markets have typically been like. Now, if is the bear market cycle, is the 4-year cycle, is the halving cycles, like is that stuff actually over? He says it is, right? And I'm sure he wants it to be, but I don't know if it is, right? And I don't know if it's stretch. I don't know if it's MSTR. I don't know if it's gonna be, I don't know what's gonna break, right? If it's gonna break. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not rooting. I want the super cycle to be here. But like I listened to those guys last super cycle, which would have been before October, from 126, we're going to 250. And everyone was price cheering. But that didn't happen this time, right? And I believe in the long run we're gonna get there. But like, there's a lot of price cheerleaders. There's a lot of perma bulls. So I think all that stuff is fun. I think speculation is fun. I know where Bitcoin is going deep in my heart. Even if I'm 60, 70 years old, I'm still gonna believe it because I think it's the problem. It's the solution to this problem. But as far as Michael Saylor goes, I don't know. Is that what's going to be that breaks? Is that going to break eventually? Is that going to bring it all down? Like I don't know. I really don't know. But I know recently there's been a lot of conversation around that, and I think that's healthy as well. Like I remember being at the Bitcoin conference about 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, and people were talking about that on stage. Like people were actually having that conversation. I was like, wow, this is a real conversation because a lot of Bitcoin maxis, they don't like that. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's an interesting conversation from somebody that, for me, I'm not in those circles. So I think it's fun. Like, wow, these people are like, this is a whole economy now. Like, you have the Michael Saylors and you have the Jeff Booths, and you can be either or. But I think we all know where we're going. We're going to a million plus, no matter what breaks, no matter who goes down, no matter what happens. Bitcoin will continue to exist. Bitcoin will continue to be the greatest invention in human history, and no matter what, I think we're going up, and we're gonna go up, and we're gonna go up. And no matter what is gonna happen, I put my entire net worth, so I feel a connection to everybody here. If Bitcoin is down, I'm down. You know what I'm saying? Like my entire net worth is in Bitcoin. Like if we go down to the 40s, I'm down. If we up, I'm up. So like I have a connection to these guys now, and I pray that, they're that nothing breaks. But usually in bear markets, things break. And that's when you have the bottom. The bottom is created because of max pain. And that's a reality that I know that exists. Now, again, this could be different. But you know what they say about this is different, right? Whenever somebody says this time is different, it's never different. So we'll see what happens. I want the 4-year cycle to be over. I love when Michael Saylor is like, yo, the 4-year cycle is over, bro. Like it's done. Stop believing that. But then, you see Bitcoin kind of doing what Bitcoin does in 4, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I don't want stretch to break. I don't want my MSTR to break. I don't want any of that stuff to break. Last thing I'll mention to continue on the conversation, Michael Saylor going from I would never sell your Bitcoin, never sell your Bitcoin, sell a kidney if you must to sell your Bitcoin, sell Peter Schiff's Bitcoin if you need. I mean, sell his kidney if you need to. And then, recent, call, and that call, like, which is the earnings call that they were in for MSTR, I think, or Stretch. He said that he maybe will sell a Bitcoin, right? And I think that that's actually real. Like, finally, he said it. I was hoping, after all my research, like, he needs to say this because this is healthy for the market. If you say you're never going to sell and you do sell, then a collapse comes. If you say you're going to sell, if you have to sell, you need to buy more than you sell. I think that's good. I think that's healthy for Bitcoins. So I was really happy to see that because I'm like, finally, Michael Saylor says the thing that you're not supposed to say, and nothing happened. In fact, that day we went up, and I'm like, okay, good, because my whole net worth is in here, bro. Don't be messing with me, bro. Don't be out here like, So yeah, so I guess as somebody like me or somebody like you or somebody else that lives and breathes this like Bitcoin thing, you pay attention to Michael Saylor. You do, you have to, because one thing can bring it up, one thing can bring it down, and you just pay attention to close range. But overall, we know where Bitcoin is going.
You also have some MSTR common shares or just Bitcoin?
Look, I bought some MSTR. I still hold it. Like it's not that much, but like I'm just all Bitcoin. Like I'd rather just self custody my Bitcoin, teach people how to self custody. I know that that's like one of the biggest fears I had. I had mine in the exchange for some time, bro. Like I didn't want to get it out of there because I'm like, man, like I got to remember a seed phrase. I got to do all this stuff. So, but I think overall that's the best thing to do. It's like I know it can't be touched. Nobody could touch this. And that's one of the best feelings I have now. Like I went from fearful to like, wow, I have my own seed phrase, bro. I know it by heart. Like, like it lives in my head. Like I don't even need this wallet. Like my Bitcoin lives in my head. Like it. So that's all I'm doing with it. But other people that are invested in it, kudos to them. I'm just not, that's not really my thing.
I love that. Yeah, it's Bitcoin has this thing of humbling people. Like you think it's going up. I think Q4 2025 was one of those amazing humbling experiences for a lot of Bitcoiners. Everyone thought we're going to 150, 200, 250, 300. And then it's just like going down, and people are like, it's normal that it's going down. It will go up again, like in November, December. And it like never did. And it just crashed down. And like starting of 2026, people were again very happy and very positive, and it just kept on going down further. And so I love that about Bitcoin because
It's
it
the
humbles
best. It's
people.
the best. It's the best. Like I remember when we had that counter turn rally, right? And I think Bitcoin went from like 84. that week it went from like 84 to 97. Remember that? I don't remember when that was. I think that was December. I could be wrong. January, I think, of 2026, of course, if you're watching this a year later. And it hits 97. I'm like, oh my God, we're about to go back into the hundreds, bro. It's lit. Big, yo, no 4 years. All this stuff is dead. It's going up. I was buying. I'm like, let's do it. And then boom, it went back to like 88. They went back to 81. I'm like 77. Oh, I was like, oh, this is getting ugly. Everybody on X, everybody on X is losing it. So, but when it was at 97, everybody was like, it's back. The bull market, all this boom, boom. It just, so like you said, like I think bear markets make fools, or every market makes fools of bears and bulls, right? You're always going to be a fool if you think if you think that where the price is going, you're going to be like, you're going to be a fool in the short term, right? And like a year or 2 years. But like, if you're a perma bull, if you're a price cheerleader, if you're a bull, you're always going to win, right? Because we're going to go up, right? So like, I'm a perma bull. I'm a price cheerleader for the long run. But short term, we don't know, bro. Like, but I do think that that's one of the best narratives about Bitcoin is like the 4-year cycle. It's undefeated. It's not. It's right now as we speak. We are doing exactly what Bitcoin always does, and I think that it's just funny. Like, wow, we're still here. So, is it gonna break? Is it not? I'm cheering for it to break. Who's gonna be able to help break it? We all got to come together. We got to break the 4-year cycle because it's still intact.
It's so funny because the Bitcoin price community, so like people that talk about the Bitcoin price a lot, which I count myself here and there in also myself. It has a memory, especially on Twitter. It has a memory about a week. If the last week has been going up, people are cheering. They are like crazy about it. It's going. If it goes down just 1 week, people are depressed. They're sad. And it's such a weird thing. If you like, it's such a weird thing to love Bitcoin when it's going up and hate Bitcoin when it's going down. You should love it when it goes down if you truly understand what it is. Like that you should be in the short term cheering for going down, in the long term cheering for going up. But it's a complicated thing.
I would say you have to understand it, right? That's all. You have to understand the problem that it solves, and you have to believe in that. And so, no matter what the price is, you just have to believe. You know what I mean? And but there's another aspect to it, right? It's capital going in here. People are, playing those games where they're short-term trading and all of these things, right? So like, people are going to have those opinions. Most of those people, they're just here to make, because from 60 to 82.8, which I think maybe was the local top, I don't know, that's a 34% gain, right? If you got into some of the bottoms, right, in February 5th, February 6th, and you held it until now, you made it 33%. You beat the market by a lot, right? So they're probably like, I'm out, right? And that's where you get the trickle back down. So again, there's a lot of people playing those games of like short term. They already made 34%, bro. Like, this is what you do when you trade Bitcoin. That's why it's just so much liquidity. But me, the way I think about it is it's just a beautiful thing. Like, I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at anybody telling me that the 4-year cycle is over. I'm not mad at Ben Cowan. I just listen and I take it all in. And hey, bro, maybe you're right, maybe not. I don't care. I'm buying. I don't care. I was buying 63, 64. Um, I watched it go to like 59.9. People say it didn't hit 59, but I watched it. I saw it. And maybe we go back down there. But if we do, I'll buy. It doesn't matter. I'll buy. It doesn't matter what it does. My girl could fight with me today. I'm gonna buy Bitcoin. My mom could be mad at me. I'm gonna buy Bitcoin. Those are the way that I solve my problems. Just buy more Bitcoin. Have more Bitcoin. Just buy Bitcoin, bro. That's it. Solve every problem in the world. Just buy Bitcoin.
I love that. Really cool. And Also, I think for people to understand this, the base keeps on expanding. So if you look at the Bitcoin price, you have that feeling that it just goes up like a bubble and then crashes down like a rock. But actually, it doesn't. It goes up, it collects more people, and some of the people during throughout a crash go out again because they just came for a number go up and they didn't understand it, they didn't do the homework. But some actually stick around because they actually did the homework, they actually studied it, they watched the podcast, they read the books, they did all those things, and those are the new base. And so us going from $5 to $10 down to $1 back up to $100, and now the same thing with like 16,000 to 69,000, back to 20,000, going back up to 126, now going back to 70K, 50K, maybe, as if Ben Cowan is right, maybe to 40K back. So it's like this is just increasing and expanding the base with about like 20-30% per year on average. But it's just like the base is increasing like that and the Bitcoin price is looking like that. So that's
Yeah,
what people kind of have to understand about the price.
I was just looking at, because a lot of people are saying, well, crypto as a whole, right? Because people like to tie in Bitcoin. I hate that stuff. Like, no, it's just Bitcoin and everything else, bro. That's it. Like the first ever decentralized, crypto ever made is just Bitcoin. That is crypto. Bitcoin is crypto, yes, but it's not crypto. It's just Bitcoin because the entire crypto industry would be all these other shit coins. And if people want to play with the other stuff, they can. Like maybe they'll make a good return, maybe not. I don't care. But at the end of the day, it's just whether it just doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, it just like whatever you want to do in this world, what are you gonna do when it comes to the information that and the information that you're presented with? Is Bitcoin a good investment long term? I think so. But if you were in Bitcoin in the last like 2 years, maybe you don't. Maybe in the last 5 years, you're probably like, damn, we were in 69K, maybe not. So like that's it. That's the trap, right? Like the trap is that the trap is set already for people. They think it doesn't work. Like when people are like, oh, Bitcoin Google searches are down. Well, what do you mean? Like you think people are still searching Bitcoin? Like, you don't think people already know what Bitcoin is? Like, you think people don't know what Bitcoin is? Like, oh, they're not searching about Bitcoin. Yeah, that's because they searched about it like 5 years ago. They searched about it 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Of course, it's going to be down. You don't think millions of people know about Bitcoin? Like, Bitcoin is was the most popular thing in 2017 when I was 20 years old. Like, Bitcoin's been around for a very, very long time. It made a lot of people wealthy. It was a lot of things got attached to it, like other coins, like Ethereum, right? There's a lot of people that believe in other coins and other things that, but the birthplace was Bitcoin, right? That was it. That was the template. That was the example. That was Satoshi Nakamoto, anonymous, the most fair launch in history. The greatest dev to ever exist is Satoshi Nakamoto. We're still trying to figure out who he is, which is funny. I'm not, but you see like those documentaries and people trying to figure out. So you don't think people know what Bitcoin is? They're like, you have New York Times posting about Satoshi Nakamoto in 2026. Bitcoin came out a very like 16, 17 years ago, and they're still making documentaries because people are still watching, even if people don't put their money into Bitcoin or transition into Bitcoin. They're still talking about it. And that stuff to me is why I'm like, wow, they made a documentary about this. They sold the documentary for like 15, 17, I don't know how many dollars, 22. I don't know. I paid like 20 something dollars. I really wanted to see it. I'm like, this is interesting. Like, if I'm somebody that's not into Bitcoin, I'm like, wow, this is a great documentary. This was a documentary with like Tucker Tooley. I think that was the best documentary I've seen so far about finding Satoshi. People were learning about Hal Finney. Who is Hal Finney? What was his what was his involvement with Bitcoin? Um, you know, other individuals that maybe are Satoshi, maybe not. People think that that's stupid, right? Because they have Bitcoin maxi glasses, but I don't have those glasses on all the time. I have the regular eye, bro. People don't know what this is. They need to know. Those are the people that need to know more. So I think stuff like that is great, but Google searches, bro, like that's how we're measuring Bitcoin now. Like that's stupid to me, But I guess those are the games that people play. Like people know what Bitcoin is; they're not stupid. And I think that I think I want more people to know what it is, but I don't think Google's like the solve. Google's not gonna solve it. Like, like, oh, we gotta search up Bitcoin. What is Bitcoin? That's not how it works.
Yeah, it's and it's increasingly with Claude and ChatGPT and all those AIs. I think
Yeah.
Google search trends. They also have a feature with YouTube search trends, which I think is like a better thing than like Google searches. But like in general, it's just like one of the interesting indicator you might be able to look at and say like gauging a little bit of the social interest, but it doesn't tell you anything. Like we literally are like 3 times the price, but according to Google Trends, we are down like 80% since like 2017. So like what insight are you gaining from Google Trends now? Like you don't get any actual insights.
Yeah, I think that again, like people are just trying to hold on to narratives, right? Because it's just all like narrative wars. And what is the narrative, right? If you look at the United States of America, what's the narrative there? Like the war, there's so many different narratives. So I think people just, it's beneficial to have a narrative that can win on your side. I think so. I think being a Bitcoin hater is making some people some money, right? Like people love being Bitcoin haters. There was a man, I forgot, he's an actor, I forgot his name, but he was on, Jon Stewart, and he was talking about Bitcoin.
Was it Terrence Howard?
No, his name was something else. He's a good actor. I actually like his stuff. I forgot his name, but he was on, he was on Jon Stewart talking about Bitcoin and talking about crypto, being a scam and all of these things. And I'm like, well, he's not. He's not wrong. He's wrong about Bitcoin, but he's not wrong about the entire industry, right? The industry has become very predatory for years now, for a very long time, right? Like, and that's the sad part about right now, that those are the Bitcoin's, or not Bitcoin's battle, but mostly like Bitcoin Maxi's biggest battle, or like if you're sharing Bitcoin, the biggest battle to get through is people thinking it's a scam, not because Bitcoin is a scam or because they think Bitcoin is a scam, because they think crypto is a scam. You have FTX, you have the meme coins. Like that was a, you want to talk about an epidemic of like the worst thing that could ever happen. Trump, right? As much as, I cheered for Trump because of his anti-censorship laws. If it wasn't for Trump, I would not be back on YouTube making money. Shout out to Trump on that. But when Trump decided to start playing with crypto, right? What that did was, because I want to bring you into my world. Let's bring you into my world, the way I look at Bitcoin and Bitcoin's biggest hurdles as far as, investing and as far as legislation goes. When you come into my world, the way I look at it is, wow, the people, they know that this could be good, but it could also be bad because of everything around it, right? All the scams, Terra Luna, I mean, all the collapses, all the articles, all the hit pieces about crypto, not Bitcoin, just crypto. And then now you have Elizabeth Warren, you have all these politicians on the left who are Democrat that already didn't like crypto, but they don't like Trump. They hate Trump. And then Trump's name is attached to it. Trump's name is attached to crypto. Trump's name is attached to Bitcoin. So that's a huge hurdle, right? Because like whatever you think about Trump, he is now involved in this, and now he brings all the hatred from these legislators and all these Democrats. They don't want to pass no legislation. They don't want to pass the Clarity Act because they think it's attached to Trump. And so some of the biggest hurdles, I think, to get the Clarity Act passed or to get what you want out of the Clarity, I think Bitcoin is going to do whatever it's going to do without any of that. But I think that Trump is a net good for crypto, and he's been a net bad. The net good is, well, the federal government isn't trying to go after your Bitcoin as much. They're not trying to fully blown take it, or fully blown try to find ways to get rid of it. In fact, they're kind of embracing it. They're embracing Bitcoin now. right? There was a 4-star general talking about how he's running a Bitcoin node. That's crazy in 2026. And then you have the other side of, you're hearing about all the other stuff happening. Oh, is he playing these games? He launched a meme coin. Really, Trump? Like, you're launching a meme coin, bro? You're supposed to just focus on Bitcoin, focus on the things that so. But again, like, these are the net goods, net negatives. And I think we have huge hurdles to get around or to get through. I think the Clarity Act does give clarity, if you look into it. But like, again, like, I don't need clarity on Bitcoin. I already know what it is. But maybe, maybe we do need it. Maybe we don't. But I just know that if they get back in office, they're gonna hate every Bitcoiner. They're gonna hate everybody like they did before. And a lot of people remember Gary Gensler. A lot of people remember what those days were like when you had an administration that was very anti Bitcoin, very anti crypto as a whole. And now we don't. So that's good. That's a very good thing. But, how far is Bitcoin going to make it without either? Like, how far is Bitcoin going to make it with a bad administration and a good administration? And it seems like Bitcoin thrives no matter what. Like, it's just going to thrive. It's just going to keep moving, bro. It's going to keep going up and down no matter how you look at it. And but those are some of the hurdles that I think we got to get through. We have to get through these hurdles, to especially to gain the masses, because Bitcoin doesn't have representation. Like, Adam Back, nobody knows him outside of Bitcoin circle, right? Like, I asked my girl, or I asked my mom, or I asked somebody in the street, have you heard about Bitcoin? Yes. Do you know who Adam Back is? No. Like, do you know who Satoshi Nakamoto is? No, but they know Bitcoin. So Bitcoin doesn't have a face, doesn't have a representation, doesn't have somebody that we could call on the phone like, hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to extend the block? We don't know. We don't know who that face is. We don't need that face. That's why I think it's the best thing. Where every other coin, you have representation, you have a decentralized model. I mean, you have a centralized model. You have a face to Solana, you have a face to XRP, you have a face to these things. You could call them. You can't call nobody a Bitcoin. So I think that works in the long term.
Yeah, it's a very good but also a very bad problem to have, that we don't have a face. That means nobody is centralizing. Nobody is trying to control a narrative. Nobody's trying to do anything, but everyone is trying. And sometimes, like, it creates a lot of inefficiencies, because a lot of people in Bitcoin do the same job, like in different things. Like, you could do things in a better way, but actually that's the beauty of it also, because you don't want Bitcoin to move fast. You don't want Bitcoin to be attackable, and like having no head is the best defense for Bitcoin ever. And I know that Satoshi Nakamoto knew that. Like, that's the whole reason why he went completely AWOL, and that's why we still haven't figured out who he was or who he is, because he knows that this system can only work if there's no boss in charge, if there's nobody in charge, and nobody can actually attack him. That's the whole beauty of it.
Yeah, I again, like, that is the best beauty of it. I think that's what draws a lot of people into it over the long term. It's a $1.5 trillion market, like 1.5 trillion. I think it was the fastest, if I'm not mistaken. Fact check me on this, but I think it was the fastest to get to 1 trillion ever, right? Beating Tesla, beating Amazon, beating all these. So you tell me, if you don't think this thing is gonna keep going. Like, if we're already at 1.5 trillion, bro, like, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of capital now compared to world capital, compared to capital in the global market or in just in the United States stock market or in gold. Obviously, it's very small compared to it, but 1.5 trillion is a lot of money. We got there extremely fast, 16 years. It didn't take that long, and compared to other assets. And I think we're gonna get to, I think once we get to 4.55 trillion, I think we're gonna fly to 10. I think the super cycle is coming. I think we're gonna get there. I just don't think it's gonna happen when people think it's gonna happen. And that's how everything happens. Like, right? Isn't that everything happens in life? It happens when you least expect it. It happens when people mostly gave up on the idea. This is when things tend to go down. Like, it just is what it is. Like, big people think they're gonna get Bitcoin at 45K. Probably not. People think they're going to get Bitcoin to go to 250. Probably not. It doesn't work like that. Things happen when you least expect it. If you go back to 2022, the most recent, brutal bear market, everybody thought Bitcoin was really dead. There was a lot of people giving up, from 69,000 to 16.5. What, people at that time, I remember people thinking it's like, oh, it's going to 10, it's going to 5, it's over. Sure. I mean, then it wasn't over. Like, it got stronger. It went from 500 billion to 700 billion to 1 trillion to 1.5 to all-time high 2.5 trillion. It's going to keep going no matter how you look at it. That's the way I look at it. It's like, bro, like, this thing is going to keep moving, and it's going to move without me. Please don't leave me. Let me, please don't leave me, train. Please. I can't. I can't make. I gotta make all the money in the world. That's literally. I work hard every day so that way I can go and I can buy more Bitcoin. Literally, like, make more money, buy more Bitcoin, because I just think that fiat money wise, like U.S. currency wise, is gonna grow obviously, but I think that eventually, like, if when things do collapse, or the U.S. dollar or whatever happens, like, it's the scarce. Like, you ever think about, like, the way I think about it, it's like people collect things, right? People put their money on things because they're scarce. You can't make any more out of it. Like, so they have an art collection. They're like, yo, I'm gonna buy this art collection. Da Vinci, it's $16 million because he only made one, or he only made two, or whatever, right? People collect sneakers because these sneakers are limited. You can't get any more of these sneakers. If you do, they're replicas. They're not real. So they put their money in that. They put their money in a car that is from 1970 or whatever, because it's a collectible, right? You buy gold because it's a finite amount, allegedly. I don't know about that one, but you buy these things because your hard work and energy, that's what money is supposed to be, right? It's the one thing that you're not supposed to eat. Like, you're not supposed to eat your money. You're not supposed to do. You're supposed to. This is your energy stored, right? Like, this is what you are giving to the world, and so you are putting it in something that somebody can't print more of. The Federal Reserve can't go and be like, we're gonna hit this button and we're gonna make more dollars, and we're just gonna inject it into bonds, or we're gonna inject it into the markets. We're gonna inject it whatever. So that's the beauty behind it. It's like, this is my pitch to the normal eye. It's like, because it's a long conversation, right? Like, how am I supposed to tell everybody everything that I'm excited about when it comes to Bitcoin? So I just tell them, think about it as a collection. There's only 21 million. You're going to own one of these 21 million, and it's going to keep on going in value. People collect Pokemon cards because they're limited, they're scarce. People collect things because they're limited, they're scarce. Bitcoin is no different, and Bitcoin is money. So you have a collectible, you have a digital gold, a digital money, you have everything all in one. And to me, that's a great pitch to somebody that doesn't understand it fully but wants to buy it. You're buying something that you're gonna hold on to, that is scarce, it is gonna be valuable, and it's something that I think that's a great pitch, man. It's not the best pitch, but it's something that can get me as well as other people like, wow, you know what? I didn't think about it that way. This thing is only 21 million. You're telling me I could own one? I could own two? I could own three? So I think that, over time, if you look at things, like, think about 2053, 2073, when freaking I'm 80 years old, and like, grandpa, yeah, I bought a few Bitcoin. Like, you bought big, what would the price be then? Right? Like, that'd be crazy. You know, Q day, quantum, hopefully, everybody's talking about quantum. Quantum is coming. So, but by that time, we'll have every quantum computer trying to break Bitcoin, but doesn't matter.
We already upgraded at that point. I love that.
Yeah.
I love your perspective. I want to ask you one more question on Bitcoin, because I think it's interesting, because I rarely have someone outside of the Bitcoin community, like, you're not outside of the Bitcoin community, obviously, but like someone that has a little bit distance to the Bitcoin circus, as I call it. With your distance to that, what do you see in the Bitcoin community where you say that is ridiculous?
Ooh, that's a good question. What do I see in the Bitcoin community? I think it could be ridiculous. I would say that a lot of Bitcoiners that I've met, very antisocial. Um, Most of them don't really know how to communicate Bitcoin to a bigger audience. I think a lot of the people at the Bitcoin Strategic Reserve are they're very comfortable there because everybody's a Bitcoiner. But how can you talk about Bitcoin when the crowd isn't about Bitcoin? I think that's really the biggest question is like if you have a crowd of people that are gonna boo you, you know they're gonna boo you. You know that they don't want to hear that shit, bro. They don't Bitcoin, ew, it's a scam. How can you navigate that system? And I think at the Bitcoin conference, that's some of the things that I learned. That's about it. I don't really have a problem with Bitcoin. I mean, it's a huge difference. Like, there's so many different Bitcoiners. That's the beauty about it, right? There's Bitcoiners that have been in it from day one. There's Bitcoiners that are. I think another ridiculous part of it is like people hiding their faces. I hate that shit. It's like that's another thing I think is ridiculous. That's not inviting me. That's not inviting a lot of people. And maybe somebody that covers their face are going to take offense to that. And I hope that they don't because I understand why they're doing it. But I just think it's a little ridiculous as far as because if you okay, if you think that, and I think this is the best part about that conversation because I get both sides. Like I get my side is like, why are you hiding your face? That's stupid. And then he's like, well, I'm hiding my face because I don't want anybody to know who I am. I don't want anybody to kidnap me. There's a lot of kidnappings happening and then people are asking for Bitcoin in return. So I get that aspect of it, but I think that's ridiculous. Like, hey, I don't know, bro. Like, it's just not gonna invite anybody to the game. Like, it's not gonna invite anybody to know. It's like this guy's hiding his face. Is obviously I don't wanna buy something that's gonna make me hide my face, right? Like, so maybe that's some of the ridiculous stuff I've seen. But overall, I think the Bitcoin community is in a good place. I think there's a lot of diversity too. Like when it comes to mentality, a lot of diverse mentalities, a lot of different ideologies. So I think there's a lot of good, but I do think there's some aspects, and I'm like, I don't know, bro. Like you're just not gonna convince a lot of people to think that Bitcoin is a good thing if you're just gonna hide your face and think that you have to hide from the world, you know. So, but I understand because people are hunting Bitcoiners. They're hunting, and in every state you can't have a gun. I have a gun here. I'm in Texas. I have protection. I have security, but normal people, they don't, right? Like they don't get to have a gun. Different states, like Michael Saylor has security. Jack Mallers has security, or maybe, most of the time he does. It's so I get that. Yeah. But I think that that's a gap that's hard to fill because it's like, you know, people want to remain anonymous. They don't want to, they want to be like Satoshi, right? They want to be anonymous. They don't want anybody to know who they are. So that would be my answer to that question. It's like I understand why they do it, but it's like, I'll risk it all, man, trying to tell people about this. I don't care about like if I think that the mission is greater than me. It's not about me. It's about the people. It's about what the long-term mission is. If my goal is to tell people about Bitcoin, if my goal is to talk about it, if my goal is to be a public persona about Bitcoin, I wouldn't hide myself.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. Like you want to get out there, you want to get on podcasts, you want to do those things, plus not revealing your face. Like it's kind of counterintuitive. Like I don't get it. I never like I never had that real thought in my head. I mean, I thought about it, like maybe I'm doing it, but like it was so clear from the beginning that if I want to be a public persona in Bitcoin, I want to go all in. I want to really be a public persona. I will do my best to be the new Michael Saylor in Bitcoin. Like I'm going all the way as far as I can till I hit like some crown. And if I need security, I'll get security. I don't care. Like I'll do everything I can to get to that position. It's a weird sidestep to try to do both, to be not recognizable, to not be known, but still get yourself out there. Like I don't know, like I never got, like I'm not criticizing it. I never got why people are doing it that way. Like if they might be fearful of attacks, but then again, like I don't I don't think this is a. Of course, it's a threat, but like it's a threat with everything. Like
Yeah.
like you can hide yourself as well as you can from the internet, and all of a sudden, like you get randomly mugged by a guy that like didn't even know about you, but just like he wanted to mug you. Like you don't like. And then there are so many people out there on social media that like poses their wealths and their Ferraris and their houses and all of those things, and they never get like you know what I mean? Like I'm like you you're not that important. You're
Yeah.
not you're acting like you're the
Good point.
president. Like you're not.
Yeah, yeah. I think again, like you're not gonna be bigger than Bitcoin. Um, I understand like keeping your financial private, but I've decided not to. I've decided to tell people, hey, bro, like I'm just a guy from the Bronx, New York. I have a sob story, just like everybody else. My sob story isn't better than everybody else. Everybody has a sob story, bro. Like people go through ups and downs. People come from the bottom. I tell people I'm all in on Bitcoin because I don't want to be private about that. I want to let everybody know. And if I got to walk around, with a gun or I got to walk around more careful, sure, I'll do that, but I'm not going to not tell people, and I hope that the world gets better, like I hope that people aren't trying to rob, other people of their Bitcoin or trying to rob these things or trying to, kill people or whatever. Like you hope that that doesn't happen. But I personally don't. Yeah, I pray against that stuff, but I personally don't want to be the guy that hides from that. Yeah, I'm not gonna tell nobody, oh, I got this much Bitcoin. No, my entire net worth is in Bitcoin. That's it. Like, like that's it, bro. Like, it's all I do, and I'm, whatever. Like, I don't need to make that number public, but like, if I had to, I don't care. Like, whatever. Like, it happens, bro. I just don't want the IRS. You know what I'm saying? The IRS, like, the IRS in my business, bro. Oh God, I hate, whatever. But yeah, I just think that that's probably some of my biggest issues with like Bitcoiners. But those are Bitcoiners those are OGs. Like OGs behave that way. I don't care. Like, shout out to them, bro. Like they've been taking the beating for a very long time. Those are the OGs. I respect them a lot. But I think that in order for Bitcoin to move into the mainstream and be like extremely mainstream and be that TradFi gold or digital gold that it can be, maybe, I wouldn't, depend on people that hide their faces or, are about, because then people are just going to be like, you know what, and that's why people are buying the, ETF. They're buying the ETF because they don't want to self custody Bitcoin. But I think that they're missing on the biggest gift of Bitcoin is that you can self custody your money. You can self custody your keys. Like you can self custody and your money lives offline. Your money is not accessible to the federal government on an ETF or on a stable coin or whatever. Trump can freeze it. Like the United States government, like Scott Bessent can freeze your money. The IRS can come and freeze your bank accounts. You can't freeze my seed phrase, bro. Like you don't know my seed phrase. You're not gonna know my seed phrase. It's gonna take you 30 years to figure it out. And good luck because I got another Bitcoin wallet from that. You know what I mean? So I think that that's the best pitch. In my pitch to everyone that's getting into it would be self custody. That's the main reason for this. That's the whole reason for the invention is that you get to live offline. Your money lives like my money lives in my head. You know what I mean? Like I know it. Like just lives in my head, bro. Like I don't have to like you know what I mean? Like it's a but people don't know that though. Like a lot of people, the normal eye is what you were trying to capture. The normal eye, normal eye. What is a normal eye? Normal eye is a person all the way in Australia. is a person all the way in China, is a person all the way in Austria, is a person all the way in freaking the bottom of South America. It's a person in Brazil. It's a person. Well, I'm talking to you. You're in a different part of the world, different time. You're in Vienna. Like, this is what Bitcoin is. I am connecting with somebody that I probably would have never connected with in my entire life. This is what Bitcoin has done. It has interconnected people to be involved in something that is so much bigger than themselves. And I think to get the rest of the world in it, because that should be the mission for every Bitcoiner that is pushing Bitcoin. Your mission should be to capture everybody, capture the world. And maybe you won't capture the world, but if you aim high enough, you'll capture a good portion. Like if I'm aiming for $1 billion, maybe I make 10 million, maybe I make 20, maybe I don't get to a billion, but because I was chasing such a high level, I was able to capture most of the upside on the way up because I was aiming so high. If you're aiming for 12 Bitcoin, if you're aiming for 15, 25 Bitcoin, maybe you won't get to 25. Maybe you'll get to freaking 5, 6. But that's a lot of money. Like that's a lot of Bitcoin. So you got to aim high enough to become big enough. And I think that should be the goal, is to educate everybody about Bitcoin. And I think a lot of Bitcoiners, the last thing I'll say about that, from what I've seen, that I think is, I don't even think that is ridiculous. I just think that these are the things that I'm seeing, is that they get comfortable not aiming for a new crowd. Yes, it's a very limited crowd, but how do you get more? How do you get other people? And I think what you're doing right now with me is the best way. Because maybe you post on this video and you tag me and I join on YouTube, and then boom, you have maybe a new audience. My people will go to your like, oh, what is Lou talking about today? Well, I never heard him say this. This is crazy. I've been hearing him talk about politics. What is this Bitcoin thing? Boom, you have another Bitcoiner that just converted. This is just the way it works. That's how it worked with me. Like, I knew about Bitcoin, but I didn't go all in until I watched your podcast with Chris Johnson, the first one, and I'm like, he's talking my language, man. I can understand what he's saying here. You know what I mean? I'm going all in. So that happens, and I think that that's the greatest thing that somebody can contribute to. Bitcoin as a whole. You can contribute by bringing in people preaching, the Bitcoin gospel, man. I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think that it will help people become better over time. And I think that that's my goal. My goal is to bring people to Bitcoin, and my goal is to go viral, right? So today I'm gonna have some coffee, I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna go there, but I'm thinking about what can I talk about today that's gonna get 500,000 views, 300,000 views, a million views. I'm trying to go viral every video, because that's the name of the game. Maybe every video doesn't go to a million, it doesn't go to 500, but because I'm aiming high, the freaking video did 300,000. Bro, 300,000, that's a lot of views. 80,000, 100,000, that's a lot of people. So, yeah.
I love that. That's such a great mindset, like aiming high and not being afraid and doing what you love. Like I think that's a great
That's the
mindset that you have.
dream. That's the actual dream. The dream is to capture the upside of where you're trying to go. It's enjoying the process. The process is the best part of it. So, like, people get sad about Bitcoin's price. People get sad about, Bitcoin Google searches or whatever. But like, you need to enjoy the process. Like, this is the process, bro. Because when it's at a million, it's not, yeah, sure, it'll be fun, but like, bro, you don't want to enjoy the process of 100 to 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000. You don't want to enjoy that. That's a process, bro. Like, that's a beautiful thing, so the process in life, period, getting fit, becoming healthier, you know, understanding the system, understanding the, crony capitalism, understanding why socialism hasn't worked, understanding all these things. That's what Bitcoin has done in my life, is that I now I want to understand everything, bro. Like, I want to understand the past. I want to understand money. I want to understand war. I want to understand fiat currencies all around the world. Bro, I was researching the other day about oil in the Middle East in 1934, when, San Francisco company decided to go and build oil rigs inside of Saudi Arabia, and then boom, we have the petrodollar. Like you think 5 years, 5 years ago, I'm not interested in the petrodollar, bro, like that, but I'm interested in because Bitcoin has made me interested in it, bro. Like I need to know more. I want more, and I think that that's the greatest feeling you could ever have. And I know people like Bitcoin's a cult. Look, I don't care, bro. Like Bitcoin has changed my life because it has changed my mentality. I'm excited every day to work to buy more because I know where it's going. And I know when I'm 29, but when I'm freaking 45 years old, when I'm 55 years old, like these days, these conversations, I'm gonna be able to like pass it on to my grandchildren. Like, yo, I saw it. Bitcoin was at 76,000 on May whatever day of 2026, and now we're in 2054, and like Bitcoin's at 3 million. Like, you remember Bitcoin at 76K? So that stuff is the stuff that keeps me going because I know, I just know where we're going, and I know that the best part about where we're going is the process.
I love that. It's really cool enjoying the process. And yeah, we have to push your amazing Bitcoin views and perspectives on your audience. And then you're doing, honestly, you're already doing an amazing job, like wearing the Bitcoin hat here and there, mentioning Bitcoin. I think that's the best orange pilling someone can do. Seeing Bitcoin outside the Bitcoin circus, like outside the Bitcoin thing. I recently saw an episode of the Diary of a CEO. Oh, what is here?
I don't know if you can see it, but it's like a Bitcoin world thing behind me.
Oh, no, yeah, it's a little.
Every video, I have the orange thing. Like, every video, I
Love
just have it in the
that.
back.
Love that. I was just mentioning, I recently, it was like 5, 6 months ago, an episode of the Diary of a CEO where he interviewed an AI guy. Like both didn't like, they were not in the Bitcoin circus. But all of a sudden they talked about Bitcoin because they talked about how a scarce money in an AI abundant world is the most important thing that you have to have. And I'm like, that's orange pilling people. That's moving the needle. We like what I'm doing is just trying the people that are in that. um I'm seeing the Trump thing, the potential win from the potential win from previously 500 went now to 2,500.
Ah.
Sorry, my brain got sidetracked. That thing is like it's dopamine hitting. uh,
No,
but
it's the
yeah,
best, bro. It's the best.
but
Like right now, I'm looking at, the first thing that pops up is like odds for somebody to win the Senate or lose the Senate. I think it's the best.
but yeah, I'm finishing my point is like this stuff is actually moving needle because they're not in the Bitcoin ecosystem. They're not incentivized to right now here and there talk about Bitcoin. They're just still doing it because they fit, because it's the right thing to talk about right here and there. So I think you are moving the needle probably more than some Bitcoin podcasters, because like you have a big audience and you are not in the Bitcoin circus, but you're still pushing the signal out there, which I applaud you for that, and I think that's awesome.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Simply Bitcoin. Simply Bitcoin, they talk about Bitcoin all the time, and I met those guys in Miami through a person who gets people. He's like a middle guy who gets sponsorships and stuff. He was like, "Hey, I know you're a big Bitcoin guy. I want you to meet these guys." And I met Nico Moran, and I met some of the people from Opti from Simply Bitcoin, and yeah, I think that, bro, like, yeah, the Bitcoin people are the best. Like they just like, because you ever met people for the first time, be like, man, like I feel like I've known this guy forever. Like, yeah, I'm talking to you. I'm like, man, like it seems like a good friend of mine for a very long time. It's because we're on the same mission, and the same mission as Bitcoiners. No matter what we do, but the mission is the same. Like Bitcoiners' mission is always going to be, pushing Bitcoin and helping people understand Bitcoin as a whole. Even if you're having a conversation with one person, you're having a conversation with thousands, hundreds of thousands. And I think that people in the space are doing a tremendous job getting people there. And to me, I personally can't ask for any more when I see my constituents or people that are in Bitcoin. If you're talking about it, bro, like that's that's a that's a W. Like that's a big W, you know. But there's a lot of great things happening in the space. And the best thing that is happening is that the conversation continues 16 years later. The conversation is only getting better. People are only getting, like, podcasts are only going to get bigger from here because more people are going to be listening. More people are joining YouTube. More people are joining Spotify. And more people want to make money. And in the realm of making money, maybe they're searching up things and you happen to be the podcast they click on. And that day, something that you said made them say, I'm going all in or I'm buying it. And I think that to me is more impactful than a politician in the United States of America begging for votes. Because at the end of the day, what you're going to do for those people is you're going to help them understand the system, understand money, understand that politicians are just pieces of shit, right? Excuse my language, but like that's what politicians have become in the United States of America. That's what the fiat system has created. It's created a whole bunch of corruption, a whole bunch of insider trading, a whole bunch of BS, a whole bunch of people that don't care about you. You can only care about you. And Bitcoin is a system that exists outside of that. That is the alternative. That is the fixing of the system that exists. And there is no president. There is no Satoshi's. His net worth went all the way to I don't know, like 100 billion. I don't even know how much billions, and he's never moved the coin. And that's the boss. That's the boss man, right? We don't know the boss man hasn't been around in 16 years. Like that's the guy who made it, So there is no president for Bitcoin. There is none of that. So yeah, that's the best part, in my opinion, about owning Bitcoin or helping people understand Bitcoin is that people get better as humans. They just do. I never met a Bitcoiner that went all in on Bitcoin and understood Bitcoin and then started murdering people, started robbing people. They thought I'd be like, what? Like, no, like that person wasn't a Bitcoiner. That person was just somebody looking to scam, like looking to do something bad. Like that wasn't somebody trying to understand life or money or good or bad. So yeah.
I love that. You're like the podcasters go over 1 hour are the best, and the absolute best are those that go over 1.5 hours. So it's actually it's not that rare. Like it's actually super rare when I think about it. It's probably like 10 episode out of like almost 800 that I've gone over 1.5 hours. So I really enjoyed it speaking with you, Lou.
No, I enjoyed it. Again, like I'd love to do it again. At some point, maybe next year, or at some point, maybe 2 years after that, for the next presidential election, and we'll see, if the prediction is right. But before we go, what is your Bitcoin prediction for before we go in closing?
I personally think that 2026 will go way better than people think. Right now, the consensus is that 2026 will be like an okayish year or a bad year, and I think there will be something happening this year that will blow all the minds. I think that not only because of the political layer, but also because of the immense buying that Stretch and Seyr and the treasury companies are doing. We've never seen that kind of institutional demand, and we just need one catalyst to shoot up the FOMO of the retail investors also, because retail investors haven't been here since 2021. All the things that we are doing right now is without the retail investors. Of course, there are some retail investors, but like the euphoria that we had 2017, 2021, we didn't had so far since 2021, and so we need an event that does that. And I feel like 2026 could be like the year that nobody expected, like the year where the 4 year cycle was supposed to go down, where everyone is kind of bearish. We've seen a lot of pain already. Like the treasury companies have gone down a lot. We've seen like 50% down of Bitcoin, but that's pure speculation. I could be totally wrong. It's just like a gut feeling I have. Like it's a thing where like I'm talking with so many Bitcoiners, and I'm like, I feel like 2026 could be better than I thought. But I also thought that 2025 will be a better year than it was. So I could be wrong the second year in a row. That's why I'm like, I focus long term, because there it's easier to be correct.
Yeah, no, I have the same feeling that you have about 2026. I have, I still think, again, the 4 year cycle stuff, I think that's real, still happening. But I do think that, like, yo, like something big is coming. I don't know. Maybe it's 2027, but I just think something big is coming as far as the government, as far as every single domino. Like once you push one domino, that domino effect, I think that's definitely coming to Bitcoin. And I don't know when, but I know it's coming. And I know it's gonna happen like literally in the next year or two. It just has to. I think, yeah. So I agree with you. I don't think you're gonna be wrong, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe October, November, and then Merry Christmas. Boom. I'm 1 million Bitcoin. $1 million. Oh my God. How did we get there? That's $21 trillion. Who knows? Who knows? But I enjoyed this conversation a lot. I was looking forward to it, which is why I reached out to you. And I was like, man, I know this is gonna be a great conversation. So I appreciate you for having me, man.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I have like two more quick questions actually. The first one is the one question that I asked each and every one of my new guests that I have on the podcast. Not every guest, but like every new guest that is for the first time on the podcast. And the question is, what can we learn from you besides Bitcoin?
Oh, besides Bitcoin, what can you learn from me? Politics. uh, uh, Domestic politics, or for me, baseball. You know, um, I'm a huge baseball guy. I got some friends that play professional baseball today in the major leagues. I love baseball. If there wasn't politics that I was doing today, I would love to be a baseball announcer, play-by-play announcer, broadcast. I love that stuff. I love broadcast as a whole. Um, that's some of the things that they could learn about me. Yeah, just a guy from the Bronx, New York, bro. Like all the odds against me since I was a kid, and everybody has a sob story. Everybody has a sad past. You can't, let that stuff defy you or define where you're gonna go. No excuses in this world, bro. Like you just have to, you know. And the last thing, Jesus Christ. Jesus is my Lord and Savior. And I think, preaching about Jesus, talking about Jesus is always good. I always have him here. And I talk about him a lot on my YouTube channel, um, my faith. So those are some of the things that people can learn from me or about me outside of Bitcoin.
That's so fun because the podcast actually made me more religious. And I just bought, I think a month ago, a Bible, and I'm trying before going to sleep to read a few pages, because I'm completely new to religion. I'm completely new to Christianity.
Oh, that's beautiful,
Even
bro.
though,
That's amazing, bro.
yeah,
That's beautiful. Yeah.
and
Wow.
so I'm like, I wanna understand. I wanna get into it. I wanna read it, and so that's why I got a Catholic Bible that I was finding on Amazon, and was like, let's get into it. Let's actually do it. It's a whole new chapter. I think I've never mentioned it on the podcast actually, but I wanna dive deeper on that. And once I do, maybe in a year or so, I want to make a video on it, because I think religion is underrated from a lot of people. It's more important than people think.
Yeah, I think overall I put God first. Understanding, what our mission is on this planet and on this earth. And you know, I think Jesus Christ is the most important thing in this world, because when he was walking on this earth, he basically gave us the guide to something greater than this, and for where we go after this, and why does all of this even exist to begin with? Why does it matter? And I think that you can put that in Bitcoin as well, because it's not sort of Bitcoin itself, but it's the meaning of Bitcoin. Why did it exist? What system is it supposed to break? And that's why I think a lot of people that are in Bitcoin are also in Jesus, because they know that there is an alignment of knowing, of wanting to get better in life, but like you have to know why some things and most of these things are bad. War, funding of war. Why does printing all this money matter? Why having a scarce money, a hard money, a real money matters? Um, and why does Jesus matter? Why does what you believe in matters? And I think I think there's a lot of stories like yours of people, understanding. We look at silver, right? That's what Judas used to betray Jesus Christ, to give him over to the Romans. It was money, right? So like money has been the root of a lot of problems, because when you just think about it, like money has been the root of a lot of problems because of greed. And a lot of the problems that exist today is because of our government, our Federal Reserve, our greed, right? Like greed to take over the world, or greed to remain the number one superpower, right? What's a unipolar world? That's the world that a lot of people feel that should exist, but people like the United States doesn't want that. You know what I mean? Like the United States wants the unipolar world. They don't want a multipolar world. They don't want more than one big superpower that matches their superpower. We're greedy. You know what I'm saying? So I think that a lot of this stuff ties in, and I'm happy to hear that you are digging into that. Yeah, that's the best, bro. New Testament. I can't wait for you to get there. If you probably got there, New Testament is great. Learning about Jesus, bro, it's the best thing in the world. Like that. That's literally the best thing in the world. And then Bitcoin. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. We have an end routine in the podcast where the previous guest is asking a question for the next guest without knowing who the next guest actually is. And the previous guest asked you the question, what was your biggest learning when it comes to personal finance outside of Bitcoin?
What was my biggest learning outside of?
Yeah, in personal finances. So like, I don't know, budgeting or like income, like wherever you want to kind of go.
Yeah, let me see how I can answer that. My biggest learning in finance as a whole, like outside of Bitcoin and all that stuff, is just gambling, right? Like thinking that, yeah, gambling, not gambling, right? So like gambling and stop gambling. That's it. Like because I was at a very dark place in 2021, like 2020, 2021, going into 2021, I was in a very dark place, man. I was, you know, it was after COVID. I didn't get the vaccine, and I felt that maybe life is over. Like I don't know what life is like anymore. At that time, I was like giving up on myself, and I was getting overweight. I was way heavier than I am now. I was like getting up to like almost 300 pounds, and I'm like 229 now. And you know, I was beginning to just gamble, throw my money out, play at the casino, and doing all these things. So I went broke in 2021, bro. Like 5 years ago, 4 years ago, I was broke, man. I had no money, bro. Like I had no path to get better. And financially, I was like, bro, like, I don't know what to do. Like I felt that there was no coming back, man. Like I would be honest, like I gave up a lot on myself. I was like, man, like I'm never coming back from any of this stuff. Like I'm gambling on all these games. Like I looked at my bank account at some point, it was minus 3,000. I owed the bank money. Like that's how broke I went. So the biggest finance story is that you you can always come back. That's the biggest finance story. That you can always make a comeback. Put your head down, work hard, save money enough to know, and then deploy. Deploy, invest. It's tough when you think that you don't have a chance, but there's a lot of people out there today that think they don't have a chance. And they do have a chance. They just have to work, save, and cut the bad habits of gambling, bro. Gambling is terrible. That's fucking horrible for you. Woo, terrible.
It's a gambling is a drug. I can agree to that.
It's
Thank you
literally
so
it's an
much.
addiction, bro. It's an addiction. It's just like crack. Like it's an addiction. You can't get off of it. And I that was the first time in my life I felt an addiction. I was like, I finally understand what crackheads go through. They think that they think like they're like, no, man, I'm okay. Like, it's everything's fine. No, it's not, man. You are not okay. And there's a lot of people going through that. They don't even know it though. They think that they're doing the right thing. They in their world, they think that they're right, and that's crazy.
Lou Valentino, thank you so much for being on the podcast. Before I let you go, where can people find you, ask you questions, and reach out to you?
LV Nation on YouTube. I have a X account, but I don't really use it as much. I just repost some stuff and I use it for my YouTube channel to get stories from there. But LV Nation on YouTube, and then yeah, that's about it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. It was really a cool conversation. I loved it, and we actually got over the 2 hours. Let's see. That's it's a huge recording time. So thank you so much for giving us so much of your time and doing your great work to bring some new Bitcoiners into the system. And yeah, I'll see you probably in half a year, 1 year again on the podcast. And also thank you so much for everyone that is watching and listening, for joining us today. As always, I'll be back. This content is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not constitute financial advice.